Welcome to Hood Champion Boxing Sports. In boxing, you find a way to win or you find a way to lose. Yo, man, Devin Haney may be out here trying to recreate a Terence Crawford moment. Could be sneaking and taking a look at Terence Crawford's notes. Now, when Devin Haney steps in that ring with Brian Norman Jr., it's going to get real. He's walking into a fight that could define his entire reputation at welterweight. Haney's not just fighting another hungry contender. Anybody out here underestimating Brian Norman Jr., you're a fool. Brian Norman Jr. is young, powerful, and he's an unpredictable force. One thing for sure, he's got a great knockout pattern going, and he's looking to make Devin Haney his next knockout victim. So what does Devin Haney do? You know what he's supposed to do? Look for a blueprint, man. The Terence Bud Crawford blueprint. Because if anyone has mastered the art of controlling chaos in the ring, it's Terence Bud Crawford. Couple of key points here, man, when it comes to Devin Haney, man. Haney has elite fundamentals but lacks knockout power and unpredictability. You kind of know what he's going to do. It's just, can he catch up with him? Crawford's style gives him the illusion of danger without taking unnecessary risks and helps him with patience. So the concept, if Haney can channel Crawford's patience, I don't know if he can ever do switch stances, but if he can somehow have a bit of stance control and emotional discipline, he might neutralize Norman's aggression. But I just think Crawford, you got to understand what Crawford's he mentally and physically breaks opponents. And if Haney can pick up some of that, he'll be all right. Because Crawford's core attributes, this is what Haney may look to do, try to become a bit of an adaptive genius. You know, not just having one plan, but to read, process, and adjust mid-fight. Haney often sticks to one plan, one style. Crawford evolves. Try to have a calculated killer instinct. We know Haney wants to knock you out. He just can't. But see, Bud doesn't waste punches. He lands when it hurts the most. And then he gets you out of there. The southpaw switch mastery, look, that is Crawford's go-to. His ability to switch from orthodox to southpaw, there's no one else in the game who can do that. Especially he does it mid-exchange and he throws rhythm-based fighters completely off because now you're fighting a different fighter. And then controlling the meanness. Crawford is naturally mean, but he doesn't force it. Crawford fights with emotion. He does, but he channels it strategically. Devin Haney is going to look to try to do that. Haney also, like Crawford, wants to hurt you, but I think Crawford has more purpose. I don't know how much, if Haney really shows wanting to hurt you with purpose, he just is trying to hurt you, and that's why it doesn't always work out for him. And then timing over speed. You know, Crawford doesn't chase. He waits for your pattern and then punishes it. Haney is more speed over timing. But if he can bring the two together, he's going to have something. Like, for example, you know, Crawford doesn't win fights with flash, right? We know that. He wins with comprehension, not Devin Haney necessarily. He's reading the code while you're still typing the sentence. And that's the difference here between Crawford and Devin Haney. Now, Devin Haney's style and limitations, look, his current strengths, he's got the elite jab, distance control, footwork, ring IQ. You got to give Haney that. Superb conditioning, rarely fatigues. There's not many fighters that have a conditioning like Devin Haney. He has defensive awareness and ability to win rounds clearly. Can he do that against Brian Norman Jr.? I don't know. But he's got some limitations, the kind of limitations that's going to hurt him. He lacks finishing instinct, can get too rigid with strategy, like with the Ramirez fight. He should have stepped on the gas, but he didn't. Often fights in patterns that smarter opponents can time. Doesn't yet have the danger factor that Crawford carries. So what that means is nobody really worried about what Devin Haney brings to the table as far as power. But that fear, that one mistake may end the fight, is something Devin Haney can create if he can knock out Brian Norman Jr. But Brian Norman Jr. already has that. You know Devin Haney knows if this man hits me, he can knock me out. Brian Norman Jr. is not worried about that shit. So, bottom line, Haney, he's clinical, but he's predictable. When he's in control, he's a surgeon. Something beautiful to watch him box. But when he's pressured, he becomes a statistician. And as a statistician, right, I just think you're counting points instead of closing fights. And you can't be out here worried about stats. You know what I'm saying? Close the show. That's going to give him the respect. Now, when you come to Brian Norman Jr., look, let me tell you, Norman's style forces changes. Whenever Brian Norman Jr. touches someone, the fight changes. You watch. Everyone he's fought, when he touches him, the fight changes. He's aggressive. He's explosive. A raw athleticism, unpredictable tempo, and willingness to take risks. People complain about him being on the ropes and fighting off the ropes. He will get hit on the ropes, but he knows if he lands on you, he can end the fight. And normally when he starts landing, the fight tempo changes. Soon thereafter, he knocks opponents out. He is still learning at the top level, but fearless. His dad has trained him to this point. At some point, maybe they bring in someone else to help out, but right now they don't need it. But his dad knows boxing. His dad groomed his son from the ground up, so they're doing something right. But he definitely makes traditional boxers like Haney uncomfortable because he'll force the chaos. And he will knock you out. And left hand, right hand, uppercut, hook, straight, looping shot. He got the power to get you up out of there. So Brian Norman Jr. is one of those guys who doesn't read the rule book. You know what I'm saying? He tears it up. He just starts swinging. He's that punch first, think later type. Against Haney, that's very dangerous because Devin thrives on rhythm, and Brian Norman Jr. is not going to let him get his rhythm and think. So as far as Haney outboxing Norman the usual way, I don't think so. Jab only approach can get overrun by Norman's blitzes. Staying on range too long invites overhand counters. Holding on clinching too often could frustrate judges and fans. Plus, if you sit out there on the end trying to outbox him, you're going to be in trouble because Brian Norman Jr. has like an inch reach advantage. So Devin's got to be very smart with what he's doing now. How can Haney borrow from Terence Crawford? He can try to switch stances, but I see he's been practicing a left hook and shit, but maybe he can try to switch stances. I don't know. Haney's orthodox base is strong, but adopting Crawford's fluid switch stance in moments of pressure could, throw Norman's rhythm off. Could let Haney use lead hand control to pivot Norman into counters. Could create angles for body counters and short hooks. So when Crawford switches, it's not for show. It's for control. And Haney needs to understand that. If he can understand and master that, he could change the entire pace of the fight because that's going to be something that Brian Norman Jr. isn't expecting. Haney can set emotional traps. Crawford sets emotional traps. Bud doesn't react, he provokes. Haney kind of reacts. Haney more reacts than provokes. But Haney should try to bait Norman into overcommitting and counter inside the chaos. Feints, small head dips, hand traps to draw big reactions. Make Norman think he's winning the exchanges and take the last shot. Tempo shifting, calculated aggression, learning from Bud's killer patience. The one thing, calculated aggression, tempo shifting, but Bud has patience. Devin Haney's got to learn that. Bud doesn't chase early rounds, he builds data. Haney often tries to win every round, but against Norman, the key is to understand him first. First 3 rounds don't have to be Haney's. They just have to be Norman's education. And that's what Haney needs. Understand what he has in front of him and then go for it. Now, how can Haney make it all work? Look, man, I don't know about Haney with this stance switching, but that's something that he can try it. If he can train switch stance fluency in camp, not just drills like live sparring, if he can do that, it may give him a bit of an advantage. If he can focus on hurtful counters, not just clean ones, actually set his feet and get some torque on those shots, that can help Devin Haney. If he can practice emotional control, no frustration when hit, that can help him. Study Crawford's fights with aggressive punches, Porter, Spence, for how Crawford was able to neutralize that pressure without running. That can benefit Haney. Let me tell you something. The Crawford way isn't about fighting harder. It's about fighting smarter while looking like you're fighting harder. And that's why there's only one Terence Crawford. But if Haney can somehow go for the kill shots, Crawford always does. If Haney can go for the kill shots, he's got something. Even 1 or 2 well-timed power flurries could shift perception and confidence. And remember, even if it goes a distance, you want the judges to think that you're doing something. Look, you don't have to be a knockout artist to act like one. Crawford's his threat level isn't necessarily his power. It's the precision behind the power. Haney has the precision. Can he sit on his punches to get the precision behind the power? Then he's got something. Because if he can create that, well then you basically may see a somewhat like a Terence Crawford type performance. And then the tempo shifting. Haney's known for controlling distance, not the pace. Crawford thrives on pace manipulation. Slow the fight down. For Haney, you got to slow the fight down. For Norman builds momentum. Can't let him allow things to snowball in his favor. He will steamroll you. Speed up when Norman resets. Pivot, clinch, turn him. Shoulder check him. All these things that Crawford does, Haney needs to do. and always make Norman uncomfortable in the ring if he can. So the bottom line is, if Haney adopts the Bud blueprint, which I think a lot of fighters are looking to do now, look, he can turn Norman's aggression against him. He can rebrand himself as a more dangerous as welterweight. You know, he'll be fully hydrated, doesn't have to worry about being dehydrated, have brain shrinking, less fluid around the brain, more susceptible to concussions. No, he should be 100%, could be more explosive, could be faster, could be more powerful. You know, it's real. This is what could happen with Devin Haney. But the same things he's doing, I already think he and Brian Norman Jr. have copied some of what Terence Crawford did for Canelo. So Haney could be running into a guy, Brian Norman Jr., who's doing the same shit. And therefore they could cancel each other out. Then it boils down to skill versus skill, power versus power. And Haney could be in the deep end of the pool and got to swim with a shark. And I'm kind of leaning towards Brian Norman Jr., I ain't gonna lie. But if Haney can rebrand himself as more dangerous at welterweight and he can hurt Brian Norman Jr., Devin Haney may have something. And if he can finally finish a fight that fans talk about, not just scorecards, I think that'd be great for Devin Haney, because when it comes to Crawford, he turns his opponent's aggression against him. He's always rebranding himself from the different weights he goes to. And look, when Crawford finishes a fight, fans are always talking about him. But if a guy like Devin Haney, if he doesn't evolve, if he stays purely technical and cautious, Norman is going to out-hustle him, and he's going to make Haney look human, and he's actually going to tranquilize him. So Devin has the talent to win. He's got the skill set to win, but Crawford has the code. And if Haney wants to survive the chaos against Brian Norman Jr., what Brian Norman Jr. brings, Brian Norman Jr. brings a whole lot. He's going to learn to speak Bud's language, which is patient violence. I don't know. Can Devin Haney do it? We're going to find out. Y'all keep cool. Shout out to the veterans, all 7 continents. Become a member to the channel. Appreciate your support as always. Yo, I'm in the breeze.